Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching today's Ag Forecast, brought to you by Agrible, your premier platform for real-time global insights. Well, in this video, we're certainly going to be talking about the bitterly cold air that is actually coming deep from the northern parts of Canada, in fact, all the way across the North Pole from Siberia, that will be coming into the center part of the country, into the Midwest. And on that, we're going to be watching two systems over the next week or so that could potentially be bringing in some snow into this section of the country, certainly spreading up here into parts of the Great Lakes states into southeastern Canada as well. Now, after that, what we're going to have to watch very carefully is the position of this trough ridge pattern, which by the time we get out about a week from now is still going to feature a large ridge out west and a deep plunging trough here over the east. Now, because of the overall position of that trough ridge pattern in the next week, we're going to keep a very active storm track in through this area, which is going to keep things quite wet through this area as well. But this trough will be moving on off toward Greenland. We're going to talk about that because that will allow this ridge to finally move into the center part of the country, changing our whole pattern by the time we got to or get to around the 17th, 18th, and 19th of the month. So that's a significant change we're going to have to be discussing here. And then we'll finish up with a quick discussion about what's going on in South America. To begin, though, let's take a look at the last 3 days. There were over 130 reports of severe weather, and we certainly talked about the threat being kind of located in this area in my video update that came out early Monday morning. And we had some pretty nasty storms in parts of Tennessee. We even had a couple of very strong supercell thunderstorms that produced one tornado that was at least ranked up to an EF2. And unfortunately, there was a fatality associated with that. But this was a lot of precipitation in addition to the severe weather that it was falling on some very, very wet ground. And so we got to talk about what the forecast holds, because in that particular region, we still have an active pattern coming up over the next week and a half at least. So what I want to do for you here is I want to kind of try to connect the upper levels of the atmosphere with the surface. And so we're going to watch an animation going together here with the 500 millibar flow pattern on the left. That would be showing you the troughs and ridges, the troughs in the cooler color, the ridges in the warmer colors, with what happens at the surface. Now, getting us started, we are going to pay close attention to the position of that trough. And that's the cold air that's in place right now and will keep being reinforced across much of the country. To start off the day on Thursday, we're going to be seeing a wide area down here of widely scattered showers because we have this nice upper level flow here. Actually, it's about a mile above our heads, feeding in quite a bit of moisture into that area. And some of that is going to get wrapped up and around into parts of Kansas and Colorado, where the air is cold enough in this region to support some snow. So we're talking here about what's going to happen on Thursday, and let's see the whole pattern evolve. So here we go. As we animate forward, what do we see here? Well, we see that trough digging into the center part of the country. So in the day on Thursday into Thursday evening, look over there at the map on the right. As the trough digs in, we see on the right that snow spreads across Kansas throughout the day on Thursday. Going to be rain primarily in parts of Oklahoma and Texas, and certainly there in the southeast, but snow in Kansas, snow in parts of Nebraska. Now, with time as the trough digs in and pushes this system to the east, we get that snow spreading in the overnight hours into eastern Kansas, then eventually into parts of Missouri, and in early morning hours on Friday into parts of Illinois and Indiana. Now, this is, of course, as this system develops into a much deeper low, because as this trough digs in right here like this, we have great upper level support in this area I just circled right here, for the development of a low pressure system, and that is certainly what we're seeing. And you can see the main cold front drag to the south with all the wraparound here on the backside, which is why we're expecting quite a bit of snow across the Great Lakes states here into southeastern Canada with this. Now, we will be paying attention to the fact we'll get some flow on the backside coming in from the northwest, bringing in, once we get past the day on Friday, some more snow showers into, well, let's watch it here. We see them spreading through parts of South Dakota into Iowa, eventually back into Illinois, Indiana, and up into the eastern Corn Belt as well. And also with this system, look at how tightly spaced those isobars are. That's going to bring in some really, really windy conditions. High pressure then dominates early Saturday morning, and we are talking here about some bitterly cold air that actually originated in Siberia, came across Canada, and is now setting up shop here in the middle part of the country. So that trough is deep, and that trough is being reinforced by some very, very cold air. All right, what do we do with this after this first system gets through? Well, watch this. The trough then reloads. Do you see this up here in Montana? Here is our next trough digging through. Look at the snow showers it brings to parts of Montana and the Dakotas. That one digs south. There it is. And as it digs south, it is going to throw a shortwave trough right here through the Four Corners region, and that ejects out into the Great Plains. And look, we got our next system starting up. Now, in this case, because this trough digs so deep, we will be watching for cold enough air to exist in this area to potentially be bringing in a band of snow right in that area I just circled. So watch as I animate now from early Monday morning next week into Tuesday and Tuesday night and Wednesday. We have another system that follows this trajectory, develops into a deep low pressure system here over the Great Lakes, drags its cold front to the southeast, and that's why this region down here that I'm coloring in is going to be very, very wet in the coming days with the potential for some heavier snowfall amounts right into this area I'm now shading in. Now, of course, when this sucker wraps up into the Great Lakes, it's going to be quite snowy up there. But if I take off these drawings and kind of let you see the rest of this pattern evolve, that trough then digs over into the southeast, bringing in really, really cold air. So we have multiple shots of very cold air coming in at least over the next week, possibly over the next 10 days. But the bigger question is, where does that trough go after this? And we're going to talk about that very soon. First, though, I want you to see the snow. Starting you off early in the morning on Thursday, pay attention throughout the day on Thursday for the snow to be spreading in eastern Colorado, getting into Kansas and southern Nebraska. And there it goes. If I take this back, we see that primarily throughout the day on Thursday, we're expecting an inch, maybe to 2, 3, or 4 inches of snow across parts of Kansas and southern Nebraska and eastern Colorado. There may be some locally heavier amounts. That then spreads in the overnight hours on Friday, getting into Friday morning across parts of Missouri and Illinois, where we could be seeing in this area, about an inch of snow with maybe some higher amounts back into this area. We will then see the whole low pressure system wrap itself up here, and in the upper levels bring us back some flow that might bring some heavier snows from parts of South Dakota into Iowa and back into Illinois again. So you'll see riding through this area as I animate through the day on Friday, getting into Saturday. Look at that extra little band of snow coming through. Now that could of course change position, but when you put it all together and look at this first system moving through, we definitely see the heavier snow in through this area, spreading into parts of Illinois and Indiana, and then again into parts of Ohio, Pennsylvania, and New York, with a second little band possibly sneaking through this area just like this. That is system number 1. System number 2 is now forming in Montana and sliding to the south, and as it does that, watch this. Here we are on Saturday, relatively quiet, clear Saturday for a lot of folks in the middle part of the country, but it will be Sunday that next trough digs, such that by early Monday morning, there it gets going. See it there in Texas? We right now have this one forecast to dig far enough to the south that we could get enough cold air in that we get a snow band that starts in the panhandles of Oklahoma and Texas, goes through Kansas, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, back up into Michigan. And now, right now, just so you know, you do see the heavy snow band in through this area. The position of this can certainly shift north if that trough doesn't come in quite as deep as the models are currently forecasting it. Remember, we're out pretty far in the forecast here. So don't look at this map and go, wow, I'm going to get 5 or 6 or 7 inches of snow if I'm sitting into this area. No. We're looking purely at the position of the snow band given the current model run. We do have some multi-model agreement in the position of this, but that's why we're going to give you another update early Monday morning to kind of see where things are going to evolve Monday into Tuesday of next week. But I want you to be knowing right now, this is the area that I'm concerned about moving forward in the forecast. So with that, I want to talk next about what this overall pattern will be doing in the longer term. Troughs and ridges over here on the left. Remember, this trough into here has got some air that's coming all the way from Siberia digging in, and watch what it does. So here we go. Trough is reinforced multiple times, keeping things cold right there across the eastern 2/3 of the country until that trough lifts and goes there. You saw it. Until that trough lifts and finally heads off toward Greenland, things are going to be quite cold. So watch this. It will be in place all the way through the middle of next week. So now we're out November 14th. That's next Wednesday. But watch that trough eject. There it is, real quick. We have a big ridge over the north central Atlantic, and it shoves that trough right there to Greenland. And as that happens, this ridge is finally allowed to become dislodged and moves right into the center part of the country and into the eastern half of the country, such that by November 18th and 19th, we are now talking about ridging here and a deeper trough sitting out over the west. Now, if that's the case and a trough does come in through this area, this will be the active region where we'll be expecting to see quite a bit of storm systems developing. Now, we'll have to wait and see how that all evolves once we get into the third week of November. But watch what the temperatures do. Bitterly cold air, coldest air since last winter, right now setting up shop here. And just to let you know, we will be seeing Friday and Saturday single-digit temperature lows up here in the northern plains and getting into the 20s into this section of the country I just circled there. Now, as we move forward, check out what the map does in terms of the animation of temperature patterns. We're looking at a 5-day sliding window, so it kind of smooths everything out. Notice because that ridge moves back in, we finally start to see the rebounding of some warmer than average temperatures over here in the eastern half of the country. So as that ridge comes in, the warmer weather will be coming in with it there. So I'm excited to see that transition happening. Moving forward here, I want to show you next this map. This is looking at the next 15 days in terms of precipitation anomalies. Now, yes, we do know that we do have some snow moving through this part of the country, but because it's such cold air overall compared to average, that's drier than normal. Because of all the cold fronts that keep sweeping through the southeast, things should be staying quite wet there. And because we're going to feature over the next 10 days a ridge out west, we certainly see drier than average conditions across much of the western United States. And that's one area that I'm actually getting quite concerned about. As we look at our all hazards weather map from weather.gov valid on Thursday here, we certainly see the winter storm advisories and the winter storm warnings tucked into this area and the frost advisories here. And this all is going to translate east with time. But come out west and we have high wind warnings, red flag warnings. Things are quite dicey out west here. I'm going to show you why. In the day on Thursday and Friday, we will be watching the development of a big area of higher atmospheric pressure, and that's going to send wind out of the high desert here across the Mojave Desert, then over the San Gabriel Mountains, giving you a Santa Ana wind down here in Southern California. And that is a wind that can certainly cause major fire risk. So we're going to have to watch that very carefully. In fact, you can even see those winds spreading across much of the Sierra Nevadas here coming into the Central Valley of California. Now, just some good news for you that watch this out west. Beginning in January, we were going to start to release several regional updates throughout the week across the entire country so we can get more focused region by region on how the weather is impacting agriculture. That will also include Canada and the rest of the globe. So we have a lot of great stuff coming out of Agrible moving forward. So for those of you that watch my videos out west, you know I often focus on the Central Plains and the Midwest. Well, don't worry, we got a lot more content coming your way very, very soon. Now, speaking of other regions, let's talk about what's going on in South America. We're looking at the last 60 days, so this is September 1st to October 31st, percent of normal precipitation here for Argentina first and then Brazil second. We know that this is an area we've been watching that's had near average to below average precipitation, so a bit of a dry start to the season, but we're seeing major changes coming in soon. While much of Brazil's major growing regions have been near average to wetter than average, which has given them a great start. Over the next 15 days, we are featuring a wetter than average pattern in 2 regions in South America. And these are some very productive fields that are getting some much needed rains, with some drier air kind of sneaking in between here. And also some drier air on the northern side of this. Now, with our weak developing El Nino, which will be happening in the area I just circled, we would expect throughout much of South America's summer to have drier conditions here in the northern parts of Brazil's growing regions, with wetter conditions, especially down here in Argentina. And certainly Argentina's National Weather Service is picking up on the November through December timeframe, having near average to weather and average conditions across its main growing area. But given how good the start has been in South America, I would expect that it would take quite a bit to kind of derail the way things have gone so far. And with the wetter than average conditions projected, at least over the next 15 days, we're going to continue with quite favorable weather across much of South America's growing regions. So with that, though, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this forecast video. We hope you look forward to our next forecast coming out on early Monday morning. In the meantime, head to agrible.com to learn how you can get real-time agronomic and sustainability insights all at the touch of a button. Look forward to talking again on Monday morning as we're discussing that next round of snow in the middle part of the United States. Hope you all have a great end of the week and weekend. Thank you.